Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and about a week or so ago I had a friend bring in some reels. One of them was an Okuma Titus that was jam stuck, and we did a video. We were able to get that solved. And he's tempting fate. He said he had kind of suggested that there was another one out there, but he wasn't going to bring it along until we saw what we could do with the first. Well, this one is the Titus TI50 lever drag reel in a box or in a bag. And he said this also came from that garage sale. Apparently somebody got aggressive and tried to take it apart. Lost some pieces and parts, he tells me. And it wound up in a bag. So he didn't tell me what he paid for this one. And I'm going to guess it was probably about the same, since that word missing parts was in there. But we're going to see what we can do here. And hopefully the parts that are missing are something that I can either find from a different reel or order or whatever. So let's start. We have a frame. That's always good. We have the spool assembly. Spool assembly, we need that shaft in the back there. Handle screw. Main gear. Hopefully we have the side plate. Side plate, dog, spring, that's all good. Click lever arm. Teflon washer behind it. That's good. Preset adjuster. So far things are looking pretty good. Pinion gear. Trim ring. Shield for the handle. Preset adjuster and spring. Looks like that assembly is complete. Tie down for the handle. And then I think he said this may or may not be what's left here. Let's see if we can get the pieces and parts out. He seemed to suggest it was screws. Just don't want to lose anything here. Alright, so we've got 3 side plate screws. We should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're missing 2 side plate screws. This looks like one of the bump adjusters. Looks like a spring for the other. Not sure what that is. Let's see if either one of these fit the shaft. There's 2 of these. That doesn't fit. That doesn't fit either. We're going to have to bush fix that one. We're going to have to see if I can go find some side plate screws, see if I can find another collar. And we may be able to get this one back. So we're going to, usually I would say we're going to start by taking it apart, but it's already apart. So we're going to go clean up some of this stuff and see if we can rearrange this thing to do it. So I'm going to shut the camera off just up for a moment. When I come back, hopefully I have a couple of replacement pieces to make this work. Okay, so I was able to locate a couple of side plate screws that sort of look like the same. They don't look exactly, but you know what? We're not going to argue too much. The threads seem to be right. These came off of, if I can recall, these came off of a Shakespeare reel. So we'll put that into the pile. I was able to find another bump guard cup. Not the same, but who's going to notice? And I think we probably have enough to give this a go. So let's put these screws into the parts tray. Let's take the opportunity to thank our first responders, essential personnel, everybody is involved in healthcare, keeping us safe during this pandemic. Your efforts truly are appreciated. Thank you so much for what you do. You are our local hometown heroes. All right, well, I'm just going to try and clean up a little bit of grease in the side plate. To do that, I'm going to use a spray of penetrating oil. I have no idea if this reel even works. I just know that somebody took it apart, and that's always some of the fun. So a week ago or so, I had an Okuma 30 in, same fella. He picked up the one and dropped off the other. Thanked me very much for getting the 30 back up and running. He had only paid a few dollars for it. And I assume he only paid a few dollars for this. So we're going to see if we can go 2 for 2 on this. And if we can, well, that would be wonderful. This is the anti-reverse dog. It's kind of flipped over here. The anti-reverse dog belongs in the down position here. Fortunately, we have the spring. When we go to load this one, we're going to make sure that we pull this down and away so that we can get the back end of the main gear in. Just going to clean this out, make sure that that channel is nice and clear for the spool to go through. The main gear looks fine. There's a little bit of dirt on there, so I'm going to take the time to clean that set of teeth off there with a wire brush just to get all the old grease in there. I have no idea how long this has been sitting. He doesn't have any idea how long it's been sitting. As I said, he kind of purchased them at the same time and held back on this one. Thank goodness he held back. I think if we started with this one, we probably would have a reel in the bag, period. But since I have the experience of doing that 30, I kind of know how this goes together now. So I'm not as shy maybe as I would have been. All right, I mentioned you're going to take that dog and you're going to just kind of hold it down and pull it back and get it started so that it clears the gear shaft. Bring it down, and then the final piece that you want to do is take your pick or something, pull that dog away so that you can tighten that down the rest of the way. I'm going to come to the outside of this. I did see that we have the washer and the cap, so no better time than maybe trying to put it on right now. That looks good. And I think I can probably put the handle on. I want to hold that main gear tight. That's something I didn't do in the last one, and we kind of danced around it for a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on right now, see if I can't keep that main gear in. It may have to come off later. Actually, on the last one we did that to hold the other one down. Well, I tried to take a screw off that we found out didn't need to come off. Always interesting, always fun. So if you enjoy watching reels come apart and go back together again and be serviced, like we just got the main gear going here, that's wonderful. Then I ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you subscribe to my channel, please hit the notifications button. That way you'll see all the reels I work on. Just happens that I've been on 2 lever drags of late, but there's more to come. They're bait casters, spinning reels, conventional reels, and just about everything saltwater, freshwater around. So if you subscribe, stay tuned, you'll get to choose which ones you want to watch. This is usually just hand tightened, and it is. Comes out in a counterclockwise manner. Here's the pressure plate. Underneath the pressure plate there's a bearing. This one looks brand new from a washer standpoint. There's a spring behind, and there's a bearing there. I'm going to kind of leave those parts right on the table because we're not going far with them. And then we want to take the back end of this off. We want to make sure, again, we want to make sure it's complete. We don't know. When you don't know the reel, it's a good thing just to go ahead and take the whole reel apart and work on it that way. That way you're assured that when you give it back to your customer, friend or foe alike, that it's working. All right. So we know we have a little bit of a problem in that we don't have the pin that's going to hold this into the thing. We'll do a bush fix on that in a moment. Right now I just want to take the opportunity to pull this gear shaft out. Usually you can poke the bearing through on the other side, poke the bearing through on this side, and check those bearings out. You want to make sure that they're working. So we have the gear shaft, we have a couple of tension washers go on there next. That's working. I'm going to give it a fresh drink of some oil. I'm going to use an aftermarket oil, Real-X. Go ahead and put that bearing on and spin it. Make sure that it spins nicely. It does. And then we can go ahead and put this side back in. Put it in the right side. That would help. You want to check. I mean, I knew that there were a couple of screws that had to hold this collar down. When I didn't see the screw holes, it became apparent that it was on the wrong side of the reel. So there's 2 little screws here. You might be able to get away with a screwdriver like I am. You may need a micro driver. It depends on the size of the screwdriver you're using. There's two small washers in there that were behind the bearing. Well, those are tension washers. They kind of give you a little bit of play in the way that you use your lever drag. It's important to have all the pieces and parts together. Well, this one looks hardly used on this side. I don't know why this reel came out. It did. Came apart. This bearing feels good as well. We'll go ahead and give that some oil. Yes, I did change my oil bottle. I'm not partial to any particular oil. In this case, this is Lucas's real oil. And I just care that when you're doing fishing reels, please use fishing reels, oils, and greases. Alright, that seats nicely. Put some on the top just as well. It's probably been quite some time since I've had that. This is a fabric washer. And these, you have a choice here as to whether you want to use some dry grease. I generally do. I'm going to use Cal's Universal Dry Grease. I'm just going to put a light coating on it. I'm going to do that by just rubbing it in with my gloved hand, so I keep most of that stuff off my hand. And then I'm going to wipe off the excess. The idea behind a dry grease is to keep the washers flexible so that they don't dry out and crack. That's the main use of it. It's not going to give you any more drag power, but it should prolong the life of the ones that you have. Alright, we're going to put that back in like that. And do the same here. Here we're going to oil that bearing in the pressure plate. Last time we did this one with the 30, by the time we got finished with this, it was spinning beautifully. I don't expect anything different with this one. Those bearings have checked out. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down now. And again, this is hand tighten only, so turn it in a clockwise position to get it tight and you're fine. You can spin your reel here, and that'll take care of that, except we're missing the stud. So I'm going to shut my thing off here. We're going to go try a couple of alternatives, see what I can find, and be back shortly. Okay, so here's what I found. I found a trip lever arm from an old spinning reel that had broken, and I found a common nail. Now this nail is coated. Let's try this one first. It's got a lot of play in it. This is much tighter. I'm going to go with this one. The bush fix simply says just you get a clipper. This is where knowing the mechanics of a reel help. I'm going to get a clipper. Going to measure this up against the slot. If you know that the only purpose of this is to hold the spool in the slot, and that it's not going to be interactive with any of the pieces of the reel itself in terms of driving the reel, well, you can get away with something like this. Just clip that out. I think we've got an answer here. We're going to give it a try. So we've lubed everything up. We've taken it apart. This is how your stud on your spool should look now. And we're going to aim for the back of the case here where you see that slot. And if it fits in a slot, it should, then we will have solved it. As long as my shaft is not turning, and this is not turning, then we've succeeded in that bush fix. Alright, I'm just going to clean up a little bit on this case. The case and the dust and the dirt and everything in this case suggest it's been quite some time since this reel has been out to sea, and I guess whenever it was that it came apart, well, that was probably the last time that it saw any action at all. Alright, so this is in good condition. This is spinning nicely. Let's find the pieces that make it go then. So we have the pinion gear is next, and right now Chris is wondering when I'm going to change this paper towel. Right after this, I'm just going to come through the gear teeth here and get all the old grease off. I'm just using a pick that came in a set from the dollar store. I think they give you 4 or 5 variations of the pick for like $2, $3. Wasn't much. To me, they're an indispensable tool in my shop for those of you that have watched me do this. All right, I'll get a new one, Chris. All right, the pinion gear is clean. It's time to go make that want to go to work, so we're going to put some grease on that. And if you have questions on this reel or any reel in particular, if you're wondering about a service, how to service it, maybe you've taken a reel apart and you've gotten stuck. Somebody just asked me about a schematic that they needed. I was fortunate enough to know where to find it. So if you get those kinds of questions, leave them in the comments section. I'll be happy to answer those questions for you if I can. And if I can, I'll try and direct you as to who has the answers to those questions. All right, we're going to try now. Hopefully, with any luck, we'll be able to get this back. Just trying to line the holes up with the studs in the case. There we go. Nice little snap there. It's turning. That's always encouraging. We have a clipper. All right, we have the 3 original screws. So I'm going to spread those screws. I found 2 that look like they're going to be real close in terms of being acceptable alternatives. But I'm going to take the 3 that were the originals. I'm going to put them in the triangle so that if the other ones don't hold as good as maybe they should, then at least I'm spreading the load here. The ones that I got actually came off of a Shakespeare Tidewater reel, and just hopeful that they're going to hold just as well. I mean, same material, which is good. They seem to have the same thread size, but they're not related in companies, so you're never quite sure. But I keep a lot of the screws in that when I take reels apart. If they've kind of been given their second chance and just can't make do, well, what I try to do is, you see we have a screw head here that's a little proud. It's too big. Let's go make sure that it all works, and maybe we'll just come to accept that that's the way it is. That's going to be hidden by a trim ring anyway, so not too concerned about it. The screws hold, they're just bigger. Turn it fine. Look at that spool spin. Oh, beautiful. All right, let's see if we can't bring this thing over and out now. We've got a problem there where we had the missing screws on this trim ring. We had one that was missing, which I found an acceptable alternative for. We have a flathead screw that was missing that I found a round-headed one for, but it should nestle inside of that little indentation there. And we were missing a bump cap on the one side, which I did find the replacement for. All right, I always got to put this on before I put the trim ring on. On the back here, there's a Teflon washer that goes. So let's get that Teflon washer on. The other one, the 30, also had a little silver washer underneath. I didn't see that come with this one, and I don't have a replacement there, so I'm a little bit out of luck if that becomes a problem. We'll see. All right, so we just did that. I'm going to just move that over to the side here now, because I want to start with this little screw. See if I can't hold it in the middle. See if I can't get it in. This is a bush fix too. I don't know where that screw came from, but it came, and it seems to be doing the job. You can see it's not a flathead, but it's not raised above the bevel in that. Now we have the 2 bump guards. This is the one that's original to the reel. I'm going to put that where the free spool is, because you're more likely than not to hit that one rather than hit the one on the other side. So let's keep this original. So this is all about giving reels a second chance. That's what my channel is about. Here's one that if you had lost the pieces and parts, you gave up on it, and the fellow told me, look, I got a box here, and the guy says it's missing parts. And I don't know who he bought the reels from, but I do thank the person that he bought the reels from. The one who sold it for $5 knew that he was missing the, well, it wasn't working on the Model 30. And on this one, he told him it's missing parts, and it is. He's been honest. And I think we're going to have a good chance of success here. All right, here's the second one going in. That's the alternate one that I found from some reel somewhere. All right, next up then, you want to move your, oh, there's a problem. All right, so we're going to stop and we're going to find alternative screws here because the head on the swing arm is bumping the raised screw. All right, we'll be right back. Well, sometimes you don't have to look far at all. If you remember, I put the 3 screws in a triangle pattern, the original ones, and then I was going to bury these 2 up under the collar here. Turns out that, well, these fit, so I took the 2 from the bottom, put them up here so that I now have clearance on the ring, and these don't look out of place. They look unusual, but not out of place. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this bump guard thing. This was the original one, so we're going to keep that on the free spool side. Again, you're more likely to hit the free spool stop than you will hit the max drag stop. And I don't think there's any problem with the other collar. You probably could have built that up with washers or something if you wanted to. Find another bush fix, but in this case, somewhere along the line, there was a bump guard extra from somewhere. And being somewhat of a real parts hoarder, I just kind of keep this stuff. You never know when you're going to use it. Even if when you're going to use it, like this trip arm from a spinning reel may have been the post peg for the lever drag. Well, you never know. All right, get this out of the way. You want to swing. When you're doing this, you want to always install your tensioner off on the free spool release. You want that in action there. There's 2 pivot points on the swing arm. You'll see them here and here. You want to make sure when you take the preset collar or whatever this thing may be called, that you nestle it over the pyramids. Once you do that, you can put the spring in the middle, grab that adjuster button, and tighten down. This is where the handle gets in the way, but again, I wanted to make sure that I held that main gear firm. So I'm willing to work around that handle. Hey, when you're out on the sea and you're fishing, you're not taking the handle off to hit the free spool adjuster. Make sure you have this free spool, and we don't have the free spool. So you want to go ahead and move that adjuster pin. Okay, I found as I took this out that we weren't nestled on those points, that the high part was outside of those little valleys. Just reset that. We're going to put the button back on now, and hopefully with better results. Tighten it down. This is going to take a couple of tries usually to get it right. Make sure you're in free spool. Yeah, what did we say before? That's a nice spinning spool. Turn it, and I think we're over adjusted. Bring it up. I always adjust in the off free spool position. All right, we have that. Let's see where we go on max drag. Oh, I think we got lucky on the second turn. So look at this. Talk about lucky. Here's a customer who probably paid $10 for both of them. I know he paid $5 for the other. He didn't tell me what he paid for this one. Missing parts, yard sale, and the fellow was honest with him and said it's missing some parts and it's disassembled. Fortunately, my customer knew where to take it. And here we go. We have a Okuma TI50 trolling reel. That's a max drag, and boy, it's got the drag. We saw that the drag is relatively new. Bring it all the way back here. You got a beautiful spinning knob. These, I forgot to mention on the other ones, these are great casting reels. I like the 30 better than the 50, but you want to spool this up and take this from the surf. It's a nice casting reel because of that spin on the spool. It's also a nice little jigging reel. If you're out there jigging some game fish, you got to go into some depths to do it. Let's say 70, 80 feet, 100 feet down. You're going to get a lot of play on that retrieve. So beautiful reel. How do you like that? 2 for 2. This one being a reel in the box or a reel in the bag in the box. But regardless, it's working again. It's got a second chance. So if you have a reel that you want to service, but you're not up for doing it yourself, well, I repair reels as you've seen here. And I'd be happy to provide you with some repair information if you contact me by email on the business card that follows. For all of you, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. If you're a first responder, thank you again for everything it is that you do and the services that you provide. And to all, please have a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.